Well, at least one video. I guess that's cause for celebration. Cheers. Welcome back, everybody, to me doing the weekly Navel-Gazing, where we talk about all the books I read last week and all the books I plan to read this week and all the videos I made last week and all the videos I plan to upload this week and, stuff in general. So let's get started and talk about books I read last week, because I did read some. So, what did I read? I reread Immediacy, or The Style of Too Late Capitalism by Anna Kornblue, which is a really, really good book and definitely benefits from me reading it again, and I did that. And then I did read What Tech Calls Thinking by Adrian Daub, which is a book about, what tech... big ideas that, or the terms that people in Silicon Valley and the tech industry throw around, and what they mean by it, and how they maybe are misusing these terms, or, at least applying them very, very selectively. And that is definitely an interesting book. It's relatively short. I can recommend it. It's interesting. And then I did read God, Human, Animal, Machine by Megan O'Giblin, I think is her name. It's one of those names I have difficulty remembering. It's a really interesting book about, AI and how we think about artificial intelligence, how we think about intelligence in general, how we use metaphors, and sometimes how that can be dangerous and so forth. It's a more philosophical kind of book in that regard, and I did really enjoy reading that. It does add some more context to, how people talk about superintelligence and all of that kind of crap. So it was helpful in that regard. And then I did read Broken Code by Jeff Horwitz, which is a book about Facebook. In fact, it is Jeff Horwitz working as a journalist who worked, at least, I don't know if he still does, for the Wall Street Journal, and was the person sort of in contact with Frances Haugen when she became a whistleblower for Facebook. Working at Facebook and all of that stuff in 2021, 2022. You may remember this, probably not, because, it kind of blew over very quickly. And it talks about, what went wrong in Facebook and and how they worked at, leaking these things and preparing them and notifying the public about what went on there. And that's something I read. And, definitely much better than Careless People, but that was to be expected. And then I did reread Empire of AI by Karen Howe, because, I still want to make this video. And I figured, because it was the first book I read when I was doing my research, it cannot hurt to reread it before actually getting into recording the video. So that's all the reading I did. What will I read this week, you may ask? Well, I don't know. One thing I'm definitely going to reread is, of course, Speculative Whiteness, Science Fiction and the Alt-Right by Jordan S. Carroll, which I read earlier this year. It's a really good book, and it also seems to be something that I can benefit from when I'm working on the AI videos. So keep looking forward to how I will incorporate that kind of stuff in there. But, it's not too hard to understand what with, all those Nazis being in charge of AI companies. It may be interesting to see what they think about science fiction, what with them, regularly quoting it and referencing it and getting it wrong. So that's something I'm planning to reread. And beyond that, I have no idea. I am somewhat blank on ideas. Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle comes out next Tuesday, so I have to wait another week. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll have an idea. Who knows? If you have recommendations, you can always put them down below. And maybe I'll do something with it. Who knows? That's the reading plans. What about videos, you may ask? Well, I did, in fact, publish the video for The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno Garcia that I recorded the week before, but as I said before, I'm currently always 1 week behind when it comes to producing videos and uploading them. So there's a sort of time shift there, and it went up, and it was, I like it. I think I could have probably made a better video if I had, not recorded it at 5:30 in the morning, but here we are, it's out, and it went really poorly, like numbers-wise, for the longest time. This last week's weekly Navel-Gazing was more successful in view numbers than The Bewitching, which I found interesting to talk about or think about, because it does say something. Usually, like, these weekly updates are not exactly, the video that does the best numbers, which is understandable, because, only people who are dedicated watchers, like the ones I'm talking to right now, you guys, are looking at this, whereas, videos about specific topics, specific books, or whatever, can draw in other, people that have not actually encountered this channel before, and just go like, hey, I wonder if someone has said anything about this specific book. And so they usually do better. So it was kind of weird to see something about a book by what I thought a relatively, popular author, Silvia Moreno Garcia, obviously not being, the most underground author ever, and a new book. I was expecting it to do better. Now, I looked it up, and there are not exactly a lot of other videos on the subject either. So maybe the hype around like Mexican Gothic and so forth has just like completely died down, or it has moved to other places like, I don't know, podcasts or online magazines. But BookTube seems to be, or book content creators on YouTube seem to be very much somewhere else than current releases by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Or like last month, Harmattan Season by Tochi Onyebuchi was a similar situation. So maybe no one's actually watching books discourse anymore in general. Who knows? It's certainly something that I've noticed. But yeah, I put out that video, and then I recorded a video about Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams and Broken Code by Jeff Horwitz, comparing those two and looking at what we can learn about like how we talk about technology and so forth in current books. And that is recorded, but I realized I might want to re-record that because I think I could have done a better job with that video. So that is certainly something that will come up this week. So either I'll re-record it, or the version that I already have will go up tomorrow or so. So that's already plans for videos this week. So that's the goal. Make that video about the Facebook books. What a weird word. And put that one up. I already have the thumbnail for it. I'm very excited. I think it's an interesting conversation to be had. And I've tried to talk about Careless People, or I thought about talking about Careless People for a while, and didn't have like a good angle to do that. But with also reading Broken Code, I think I have an angle to explain what I mean and what is going on there and so forth. So that will happen. Beyond that, I guess I'll try to finish and record the AI video this week. I hope that will work out. It may take a couple of sessions. I assume it will be a longer video. I have the structure mostly completed. I just need to make sure that I, don't necessarily overdo it, because that's like one of those things that I've realized, and I think I've spoken about this before. Like the way I make videos is usually I just come up with something, and once I feel comfortable with talking about it, I record the video. Sometimes I realize that I don't fully agree with what I've said in the video. Maybe I forgot something important, or maybe I just repeated myself too many times, because all of this is obviously improvised. And I have, sort of compared it to like stand-up comedy or something like that, right? Where you go up and you practice something in front of an audience, and your routine gets better and better over time, because you get like feedback from the audience, and you realize what works and what doesn't, and some phrases kind of stick in there, and the structure gets tighter the more often you do something. And that is up to a point how I make videos. Now, obviously, if you write a script and you read just a script, you can do that in writing. You can write the thing down, and you can edit and re-edit and rewrite and so forth that text until it reads really well, and then you just record it once. Now, obviously, because I don't read scripts, I can't do that. So I have to basically record the thing and then re-record, and that can take longer, because, rendering videos and editing videos and so forth takes a while, and sometimes it takes a while for me to realize what went wrong or what could have been done better in a video. It's not usually that I switch off the camera and go like, oh shit, I could have done so much better here, beyond just my general sort of like insecurities, of course. So that's one example. Now, that video about the Facebook thing, right, where I recorded that on Saturday, and it took until like late yesterday evening when I realized that maybe I should actually re-record this, and now I'm figuring this out. So the process takes longer. And the other part is, of course, that Whereas if you do like public speaking, like stand-up comedy or something like that, you have like an immediate audience feedback, right? Like you just stand there and someone tells you, and either people laugh or people don't laugh, or people react immediately. So you have external feedback. And obviously I don't have that because I don't upload every version of a video. I only upload the one that I'm least uncomfortable with. and so the entire feedback process works within my mind, which is obviously a bad thing because, you know, if you're already like insecure the way that I am often, and you start questioning everything, it's very easy to fall into this sort of trap of going like, well, this is not yet good enough. I need to repeat myself. I need to re-record this. I can tweak this. I can work on this. And it's the same kind of thing that you see with some authors where you rewrite and re-edit one passage like 80 times or however many times someone like Patrick Rothfuss has supposedly rewritten parts of Name of the Wind, for example, right? There is that danger when you don't have like that external feedback and you don't have like actual deadlines in a lot of ways. And I'm aware of that. And I try to figure out how to deal with that. Sometimes I just go, well, fuck it, I'm just going to upload it. I remember in some cases what I did like at the beginning of the channel, because I was so insecure about stuff, I just like upload a video, press publish, and then go to sleep. And so I wouldn't have to care about what went on with the fallout until like the next morning. That can help, but it doesn't necessarily help. So yeah, it's something I'm still working on and I'm trying to figure out. And that does bleed into the whole like AI video kind of thing, right? Because the other part of like going through something and re-recording it is what you could almost call like feature creep in a lot of ways, right? Like I start out with a simple idea, go like, we need to talk about how generative AI impacts the book industry, publishing, and so forth, in a more systematic approach beyond just like shaming individual authors or individual people for using AI. We need to do the systematic thing and talk about like how it's a capitalism problem and not necessarily a tech problem. That's very simple. That's like a 20-minute video of me being mad. And then I started like, well, but I guess one part is also to explain what artificial intelligence technology, or what this specific part of generative AI, that being, you know, deep learning, large language models and so forth, what those are. And then the next moment I go like, well, but we also need to talk about like which specific aspects of capitalism are, you know, to blame for what's going on with the current way we talk and we work with generative AI. So suddenly you have the next bit in there, and suddenly it all starts getting larger and larger and larger and more complex, and then I need to realize that, yeah, maybe I'm going too far. How deep do I have to go down this rabbit hole for the video to be a full sort of coherent piece of work, right? And that's certainly something I'm still struggling with, and I can feel the point with the artificial intelligence video where I might overdo it in one part, for example. Like how detailed do I have to get when I explain the technology, right? And I'm kind of worried that I might go too far there, but I think I have like at least the general argument and structure I think I have ready. So my plan is to go and record like one part of this per day, I guess, and hopefully have it done by the weekend so I can render it, which will take a while longer because of, you know, this being done, I guess, like a 2-hour video or something like that, which will take a while to actually completely fully render and so forth, because my computer is not exactly fast, thanks to AI, the AI boom, you know, graphics cards being really expensive, and those being the things that you can use to accelerate video rendering, and I can't. So that'll take a while, because next week I'll be going to another festival, so ideally I want to have this video done and up while I'm at the festival, which would also allow me to not care about the fallout. Because, you know, phone reception being kind of fucked up at those places, wouldn't that be nice? We'll see. So that's kind of where I'm stuck at the moment, figuring out how to do all of this in a meaningful way. I haven't really watched a lot of like book content over the last week. I remember like when I was looking at or confronting the fact that my Bewitching video did not exactly get a lot of views, I was like, well, I don't know. I haven't seen like a lot of like individual videos about one book for a long time by now, right? A lot of people are just doing, you know, wrap-ups, weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, whatever wrap-ups, where they talk about like, all the books they're reading, or they're doing, you know, TBR videos and so forth. But like, individual reviews or discussions of one book have gone down really a lot in my YouTube recommendations, right? Like, I mean, obviously there's channels like Liam's Lyceum, where Liam still does, individual videos per book all the time. And there's a few other channels that from time to time do that. But like in general, like the number has gone down a lot. So maybe that's just part of it as well in a lot of ways. But I found that interesting, that so much of what I see on my channel, like when I log into my booktube channel, or like this channel here, right, when I log into that and see what is recommended, because this is the channel that I have subscribed to a lot of like book creators, so this is where I see bookish content normally, and like mostly what I get at the moment is more like meta content, people talking about how booktube sucks, or people talking about how publishing sucks and stuff like that. So it's much less about actual books and more about like the larger space, which, yeah, I don't know. Certainly interesting. I always have thoughts about that stuff, but I feel we might want to actually focus on books from time to time to actually have something to talk about on the meta side as well. But who knows if that actually works or doesn't. Numbers-wise, it clearly doesn't, but who am I to say anything? Once again, I mean, it's also summer, so numbers in general are bad in summer, during, summer in the Northern Hemisphere, because most people are just like out doing stuff, traveling, all of that kind of stuff. Whereas in winter, everyone sits at home and has nothing better to do than watch hours and hours of like boring YouTube videos. So that's another thing. Oh, and I kind of forgot during my what I did last week. We did have like the belated July live stream on Friday, the 1st of August. I enjoyed it a lot. I had a lot of fun. It was a more relaxed one than previous ones, and I think that was nice to have like a more in-depth conversation, a bit slower, not as aggressive. Sometimes I think that is nice to do. I hope those of you who watched enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed hanging out and, having just a conversation about all kinds of stuff. We will see if I do the second, like the one for August, also on like the last weekend of August, because, my brain is foggy as always, and I have no idea how the rest of this month will shake out, like with, travels and other stuff. So we'll find out near the end of the month. I would obviously also love to have like a guest back again. Like it's been a while since we had someone over to just hang out and talk. So that will be nice. I'll see if I can find someone who's interested in coming on and hanging out with me. I feel like the number of people who are willing to do that has gone down a lot over the last month, I guess, which is, to be expected. But we will see. If you have suggestions for like people you want me to have on, then by all means, let me know. If you are someone who has a YouTube channel and wants to hang out and talk, let me know. I'm always happy to talk to anyone, I guess, within limits. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I am certainly dealing with, a lot of like my own like inner demons and stuff like that. But compared to last week, I feel less depressed, which I think is a good sign. So maybe just having like a week and like having like a weekend where I'm not at a festival or something and just slowing down a bit physically has helped. So hopefully this will go the same this week, and maybe I'll actually finish that AI video. Wouldn't that be like cool, like nice, having something big that I can then move on and do something else? Because so often for me, it's even when I struggle with focusing on the thing that I want to do, it's very difficult for me to just like switch things out and go like, yeah, well, then I'm not going to do that. I'll just push stuff in between, and then I lose sort of like track. But all of these like large projects, this one and then the one on like fandom and stuff that I still want to do, and then the whole Brandon Sanderson stuff, and all of these are still sort of like in my mind, and they're all sort of, I don't want to call them millstones around my neck, but they are all sort of like mental sort of like things that take up mental space for me, and getting over some of them and getting rid of some of them is certainly helping me in a lot of ways, just to also focus on other stuff and hopefully be slightly more productive and so on. So hopefully I'll get through one of them this week and can sort of like keep myself on the straight and narrow and not succumb to too much feature creep and too much self-doubt and re-recording everything like 10 times and so forth, because that would suck. So yeah, anyway, let me know what you did last week and what you're planning to do this week and what you're reading, all of those cool things. I'm always eager to hear about that. I hope you're doing cool things. Yeah, like, subscribe, comment, do the things, join the Patreon if you feel like it, join the channel if you feel like it, do whatever. Mostly try to be cool people, and I'll see you in the next one. And until then, thanks and cheers.